Hey, one hey all, welcome to Monday. Welcome to Countdown Day. And now that we've got all of the year and good and bad for 2023 out of the way, we are going to kick things off with a brand new topic as voted on this week by fans all across social media. It's one that our buddy Joe, and Joe has worked at times with Hasbro even. I know he's worked with guys like Flint, for example, so he has wanted to have this topic for a long time. And this topic is the top 10 hardest to transform Transformers. I kept it wide open to all lines. I kept it wide open to official, third party. Hardest to transform Transformers as voted on by fans. That's our topic this time around in the latest GotBot Countdown. Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, your most humble of hosts, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, of course, subscribe, and while you are at it, light them up, baby. Hit that notification bell, please. It helps me out a ton. It lets you know when content of all sorts goes up here on the channel. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, all the groups that I'm either a mod or an admin for, as well as all of my social media links. All of that is in the description down below, also in the description down below. And if you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. And this is the top 10 hardest to transform Transformers. There was a lot of votes for a lot of bots, official, third party, everything in between. Very interesting list. Most of these I don't have, so we're going to see some pictures over here on the side for sure. And I don't have most of these because, well, you'll see as we go through. I'll talk about that toward the end. Let's do our honorable mentions first. And they include, all of these had the exact same number of votes, by the way. They were just shy of making it on the list because the voting was real close this time around. Just shy of making it on the list, but they didn't quite rank. The honorable mentions include movie masterpiece Bumblebee movie Bumblebee, which is the movie masterpiece Bumblebee that turns into the VW Bug. I reviewed that thing. It is absolutely atrocious. It is garbage. I don't think first or last I ever did get the transformation right. It's junk. It's over-engineered. It's needlessly complex. It is so bad that when you get to something resembling the B mode, you don't feel rewarded, and when you get it back to robot mode, you don't feel rewarded. It feels flimsy, it feels fragile. I hated everything about the experience with it. Movie masterpiece, '07 Optimus Prime. Don't know the mold, have only heard bad things about it. I've heard that there's a lot of fiddly, finicky little parts, and I've heard that the tolerances are so tight that they're almost non-existent. I can't speak to it. I do know that the Studio Series, like Studio Series 5, like that was pretty good mold. I've heard people say that that one, or I think Studio Series 32, were better than the movie masterpiece. That says a lot. Alternators, Grimlock, a lot of people say that the instructions were printed wrong and stuff, and that if you try and do the shoulder arm transformation the way it's in the instructions, you basically can't do it. Apparently there's some fragility as well, and a whole ton of panels that just don't like to stay together. War for Cybertron Deluxe Optimus Prime. I get it. There's a lot of twisting with that original Deluxe from 2010. Starscream wife actually figured that one out without instructions. How she did it, I'll never know. But I can remember, before I was familiar with it, she had the mold for her kids before I ever knew it. And one day I tried to transform it when we drove out to my mom's. And that's about an hour away. We got out there. I didn't have it figured out by the time we got out there. I think I had it figured out by the time we got back in. So about 2 hours later, I managed to figure it out, but there's a lot of little bits and pieces there. So, I don't know. You know, it is what it is. And the final one is Beast Wars Mac Kick, the one that turns to a horse. A whole lot of panels there. None of them made the actual list. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to do as we always do and kick things off with number 10. Burst. Kicking us off at number 10 is one that I do own, one that I'm very happy to own, and one that I love. and one that's right over my shoulder here. I'm not going to take him down right now, but it is 01 Studio Cell. Cell turns into a cell, right? Turns into a cell. Not a planet. He's not a Unicron. He's a cell that turns into a cell, right? Here's the thing. He is a robot that literally turns inside out and becomes a ball. It's going to be complicated engineering. There's no doubt about it. Granted, when you kind of explode his body like his chest and stuff, it seems very daunting. But really, you have both sides of his body mirrored. So if you can do the left side, kind of reverse the process for the right side. It's sort of ingenious. I love the shoulders. However, I will admit the two things that people complained about. One, they said he is panel-tastic. There's a lot of panels that need to lock into each other there. Two, they said because of the little spires and spikes that are on him, a lot of times you'll hurt your hands and your fingers trying to line them up. And I agree with all of that. However, here's what I will say to his credit. The trick to doing Cell is that, at least going from robot to planet mode, is that the arms, after you put the wrists in, there's a tab that needs to go into a slot, and the elbow and the arm section needs to be positioned just perfectly right. If you position the arm just perfectly right, all of those panels will actually lock into each other quite elegantly. If it's not, though, perfectly right, then you'll get most of them to lock in, and the last one or two just won't. And you got to take the whole thing apart again, reposition the arm, and do it again. So it does take some finesse. That much I'll definitely agree with. Going from planet back to robot, way easier. No doubt about it. But the thing that is hard about going back from planet to robot is trying to figure out what panel to pop first to start the process. Because there's nothing for you to really get your fingernail or a little wedge in around to start the process. It would have helped if they had kind of divoted just a little spot where you could catch your finger to move the first panel to let everything happen. Couple of minor design flaws for an otherwise fantastic offering. But even when you get the arms right, even when you do everything right, yeah, he's a solid, half hour or more to transform. No doubt about it. But would you expect anything less from the Chaos Bringer? Don't want to say Chaos Bringer. 01 Studio Cell takes the number 10 slot. Coming in at number 9, we have this guy. That's right, it is MPM Ironhide. I'm going to read to you the description. I reviewed him on March the 30th of 2020. And here is the description that I had for him. This time I look at the Transformers movie masterpiece MPM 6 Ironhide. This version of the character includes an accurate and licensed GMC truck, which was nice, and die-cast parts, which I thought was going to be nice. The coloring is highly accurate, and the articulation is generally good, and he can score some dynamic poses. But the shoulders are very lacking because there was a lot of cumbersome nonsense there, and the shoulders were like way back on the body. The shoulders are lacking. Are very lacking for something calling itself a masterpiece. The conversion is overly complex and not really very enjoyable beginning to end. Neither the resulting alt mode nor the resulting robot feels like enough of a reward for going through all of the hoops that you must jump. Many of them minuscule, little specific, and unnecessary hoops. There are not only several small moving parts that can be easily overlooked, but arguably an over-reliance on far too many panels, with their abundance of tabs and pegs that just don't like to stay together. That was my description. I even said in the review near the end that this is garbage, this is junk, don't waste your money on it. Instead, if you want a version of Ironhide from the original movies, from that 07 movie, do yourself a favor and hunt down the Studio Series version, because that was fantastic. It's amazing that the mainline Studio Series was so infinitely better than something that was calling itself a masterpiece. Calling itself perfect? I don't think so. Get out of here, Ironhide. You took the number 9 spot for hardest to transform. Number 8 is this guy, MP44, Optimus Prime. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it. His look is like he jumped off of the screen, but that's not enough when you have so many issues. A lot of people have said the way his entire body unfurls, there's nothing about it that's fun. There's nothing about it that's simplistic. It feels like he just exploded and is very complex because it's not intuitive. But more people that voted for him said his biggest issue, his biggest problem, the reason he's so hard is because his knees are known to just plain crumble to bits. And this is a very expensive masterpiece. In Canada, I want to say it was about $600. I want to say in the US it was about $450, if I'm not mistaken. That's a big chunk of change to put down on something that's known to have breakage issues, that's known to be needlessly complex in order to accomplish what it's looking to accomplish. A lot of people said there were far simpler ways that things could have been done. They chose not to, and for that reason, MP44 Optimus Prime takes the number 8 slot. Coming in at number 7, we have this guy, Siege Springer. Now, I like him. He's growing on me, but I'm not going to lie. When I haven't transformed this guy in a while, it is something that I don't remember. I do forget it. And granted, the way the body is handled isn't the most intuitive thing in the world. The way it opens out, the tolerances in the torso are quite tight. I do think going to car mode is a little bit easier than going to helicopter mode. I like it, but it's definitely a transformation that takes some getting used to. By the way, this is the Generations sword. I personally prefer it over his 2 swords that he comes with, but that's just me. And it does... I have it in his hand, but I mean, it fits. Dun, 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 dun. It fits on his back, no problem, right? Is this as good or better than the Generations? No, probably not. Will it be as good or better than the upcoming, apparently, Legacy that's going to happen? Well, the Legacy, I'm sure, is going to be a leader class, but I have not at all enjoyed the Legacy Astro Train or the Legacy Blitzwing. I don't think they've been done well at all, personally. I know they've been popular. I didn't like them. So I'm going to stick with this guy. I have, well, technically my son has the Generations. I like this, but yes, it does take some getting used to and some work. The Generations, I still think, is the absolute champion. This probably could have been done a little bit easier. And I get it. There's a lot to unpack here. Literally. And for that reason, Springer takes the number 7 slot. Coming in next, at number 6, we have Kingdom Rhinox. And you know what? It's a bit of a shame because everybody that voted for Rhinox said the exact same thing. He's fine except for the rear legs of the beast mode. Some people said, I've just resolved myself that I'm never, ever, ever going to be able to transform him because there is 0 clearance for those legs. The clearance is there. It's doable, but I'm not going to lie. It is terrifying every time I do it. It is a very poor design. It is not intuitive at all. And it would be very, very easy to move those rear beast hind legs in such a fashion that it could easily break. Not for nothing, but I was also always a little bit put out that we didn't have the gold here and we didn't have the maximal symbols on his head. That always sort of irked and annoyed me as well. That has nothing to do with the transformation, of course. Some other people said that the other thing that they didn't like about the transformation is the way the mouth is done up here. You should be able to see the upper teeth and stuff. And the way the mouth is handled, it's not good. And I get it. I agree with it. So for the back legs, for the funky mouth, yeah, Rhinox takes the number 6 slot. And now a hush falls over the crowd because we have reached the ever coveted, ever popular halfway mark. And at the halfway mark, we have a mold that I know is very infamous, that I don't think looks good at all. I don't think it really scales much with much of anything. And every single person that has ever handled this mold has said the same thing. It's rough. Real rough. I'm talking about MP05 Megatron. I think it's a terrible looking robot. I think it looks awful in robot mode. Too skinny, too lanky. The head sculpt didn't capture Megatron. The body didn't capture Megatron. What's with the gigantic oversized fusion cannon that just doesn't match? The whole way the pelvis and legs look is awful. And then you get to the transformation. And everybody that voted for this said the same sorts of things. They said, parts don't move smoothly or intuitively. I broke this. I snapped off that. The tolerances are terrible, and then even when you get it in its Walther P38 mode, apparently it's too big for most people's hands, and it doesn't scale in robot mode, it doesn't scale in its alt mode, and the process of getting between modes is Herculean. Even people that are proficient in doing it take somewhere between 25 minutes or a half hour of heavy sweating, because you never know when you're going to just move something the wrong way and something's going to break on you. To me, that's hardly perfect. To me, that's hardly a masterpiece. To me, that's junk. And enough people feel the same way that this version of Megatron took the number 5 slot. Coming in at number 4, we have this thing, HasLab Unicron. I've never been impressed with this. First nor last, I didn't like it in planet mode, though I think that's its most successful mode. I certainly don't like it in robot mode. It looks like garbage in robot mode from any other angle than front on. And even then, it's not accurate because it's not symmetrical like he should be. The back is nothing like the animation, and all that junk on his legs is atrocious. People said that to actually do the transformation, you need the pedestal, because you need to be able to rotate him around and walk around him, and it takes somewhere around an hour to accomplish. Where's the fun in that? And then you had other people that said his transformation is awful because it's a gigantic shell former that's really not a transformation at all. It's hard because it costs so much, it was so premium, and you can literally take the alt mode off and lay it aside. And they felt like they got kind of ripped off because of that. Whether you leave it all on and do all of the panels and do him in quarters, it looks like. I mean, I've only ever watched one transformation video on it because I knew I didn't like it. But, if you do this lower corner, and then this lower quarter, and then this quarter, and then this quarter, I guess you get a planet. It seems like an awful lot of work to get between modes. Some people love it. And if you do, and you got it, and you've justified that price to yourself, and you've convinced yourself that he's wonderful, good on you. You know what? I mean, it's done now, it's over with, it's said and done, it is what it is. But a lot of people, enough fans, felt that his transformation either isn't a transformation or is just too hard to maneuver because he's so big and cumbersome and clunky that it just makes him hard to handle. Any way you cut it, for any reason you want to give it, HasLab Unicron took the number 4 slot. Now we're into the top 3, and at number 3 we have Revenge of the Fallen Mixmaster. And man, oh man, I don't know this, but I've never heard anything at all good about it. I will say this, everybody that voted for him said it's easier to get to robot mode, but robot mode looks like garbage. And I admit it does. The robot mode looks just terrible. But everybody said the transformation from robot mode going back to truck mode is near impossible to do. It's Herculean, and even when and if you happen to get all of the panels locked together, they don't like to stay together. And if you push one thing, you're probably going to pop something else. If you pop that thing back into place, you probably popped something else. Everybody said by the time you get through it and got everything lined up and got everything done, what you get in the end, whether it's the robot or the truck, just isn't worth the headache. That would be a hard transformation. That would be poor, if not over-engineered transformation. And it takes the number 3 slot. And now we are at the top 2. And at number 2, we actually had a version of this character already appear on the list. It's this. That's right, it's the other Masterpiece Megatron. Again, I don't like Masterpiece as a line, man, because it's marketed as a masterpiece, which to me means perfection. And we've got both versions of Megatron on this list. MP36, why did it appear on this list? People said, look, to actually accomplish this, again, is a lot of work. It's a lot of parts. It's a lot of moving. It's a lot of engineering. It's just a lot to deal with. Some people said that they feel uncomfortable moving the chest. A lot of people said he has a ton of paint. Unfortunately, because of poor tolerances on this mold, a lot of that paint gets scraped up. And the biggest one, the most common issue, that when you're doing the transformation, the barrel of the Walther P38 mode is known to simply crack off, which means you literally cannot complete the alt mode then. If parts are breaking, if paint is scraping, if it takes a long time to do, if people are saying that it's unenjoyable, all of that would mean it's not perfect. It's not a masterpiece. And for that reason, Megatron has to take the number 2 slot. And now here we are at the very tippy top, number 1. And I gotta say, I agree with number 1. I really, really do. In fact, some people questioned if it's become known as the hardest Transformer to transform. I don't know about that. But for our list, based on fan votes, number 1 for hardest Transformer to transform is this guy. That's right. It is Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime. And I reviewed this guy early August of 2022. In fact, I reviewed him. Then I reviewed Jetfire, which was also Herculean. Then I did a True Review 1000, which was a collection tour. And then in True Review 1001, I did the Jetwing Combine mode. Putting them together in the Jetwing Combine mode is brutal. Brutal. And the articulation is wildly limited with it. The Optimus by himself, I didn't hate it. I really didn't hate it. I don't know if I found it to be the most complicated transformation, but I will say this. There are a couple of little pieces down, like under his chest, like part of the side of his abs, I guess. And I feel like trying to move them and lock them in and unlock them is very unnatural. I feel like I'm doing something wrong. I feel like I'm moving something the way I shouldn't do it. The arms. I think a lot of people voted for this guy because of the way the arms need to go in and together and how everything needs to kind of wrap around that. It is a transformation you very much have to get used to. And when you've been away from it for a while, you're guaranteed going to forget it because there's nothing intuitive about it. My description of that review said that this is technically part 1 because we're going to look at the Jetfire, blah, 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 blah. In this review, we focus solely on the Autobot leader, and while I have heard good and bad over the years about him, there is a lot of heft to him. Great build and materials, and a neat transformation, except for the rib area under his chest. Those spring-loaded parts are an absolute pain and a nuisance to do. The shoulders are, and the positioning of the arms is also a bit of a nuisance to do. His lower body, specifically around his legs, is probably the most comfortable part of his conversion. Otherwise, he's pretty decent and is very interesting. Check out all the details for yourself. So I actually liked it, but I respect the complexities that went in there, and why a lot of people would feel like he is just, you know what, he is just a bit too much. And for that reason, Revenge of the Fallen Later Class Optimus Prime took the number 1 slot. And there you go, we've gone from 10 down to 1 once again. What a wild list this was. But you know, let's kind of go through some of the other ones that had votes. And see if you notice a pattern. See if you notice a pattern. It's not a strong pattern, but I think that there is a pattern there. So, we had things like RID X-Brawn, which kind of came out of left field. Legacy Bulkhead, which was a surprise. Revenge of the Fallen Skids. Transform Element Optimus Prime, XTB, Scourge, Legacy Skyquake. I would say more than a hard transformation, his is just very precise. Studio Series Mirage because of his ankle wheels, whatever that is, I really don't know it. MP Dinobot, Gamer Edition Bumblebee, Gamer Edition Cliff Jumper. What else do we have here? G2 Electro, but I think that was more a QC issue than a difficult transformation. Rise of the Beast, Studio Series Battle Trap, Studio Series Jetfire, Revenge of the Fallen Sideways, Legacy Bludgeon, that one surprised me a lot. Devil Savior, Split, which is their version of Mixmaster, RID, Ultra Magnus, the one that combines, of course, with Optimus to make, what is it, Omega Prime or something like that. Hunt for the Decepticons Breacher, Revenge of the Fallen Jetfire, MP Beast Wars Megatron, MP Ultra Magnus, MP P10 Optimus Prime, MP Starscream, MPM Starscream, Hunt for the Decepticons, Battle Blades Optimus Prime, Revenge of the Fallen RC, Armada Sideways, Apollyon, remember Apollyon, that Megatron? Unique Toys, Nero, which was their MP version of Age of Extinction Lockdown, MPM Jazz, Bazooka, I don't even know what that is, Generations Wheeljack, G1 Bumblebee, that had to be a joke, Action Master Megatron, that had to be a joke too. Dark of the Moon Sentinel Prime Studio Series. Dark of the Moon Sentinel Prime. I did the original. Was it the original? I think it was the original Leader Class Sentinel Prime, and the challenge was to do it in one take. That was a rough review. That was a hard one. Expanse. MP3 Starscream, MP Starscream version 3. I think that was MP52. MP Bumblebee, MP 2.0 Bumblebee. Studio Series Barricade, the 07 Barricade. Fans Toys Thomas, X Transbots Menasor. Studio Series Rise of the Beast Scourge. Thrilling 30 Blitzwing, I thought that was an interesting one. Kingdom Beast Wars Megatron, MP Octane, though I think that's a third party one, I'm just not sure what it is. The crossover Death Star Darth Vader, a lot of panels on that one. Leader Brawl from 07, SND the One, I don't know what that is, but the people who voted for it were like, heesh, that thing. Apparently the tolerances are awful on it. 20th Anniversary, MP Optimus Prime. Big Convoy, Studio Series 86 Hot Rod, Last Night Barricade, Fans Toys Power Glide, X Transbots, no, I already said Apollyon, MPM Bone Crusher, Big Convoy, MP09 Rodimus Prime, MPM Ironhide. Oh man, the Studio Series 86 Ironhide was so much better than that. Sorry, the Studio Series Ironhide was so much better than that. Studio Series 86 Ironhide had a vote. Toy World's Orion. I love their Hegemon. The Orion is cool, but it's noted as having really rough tolerances. Double Dealer. Who else do we have in here that I didn't already mention? Magmatron from Beast Wars Neo, the original Magmatron. And let's say Revenge of the Fallen RC. Them and so much more. The two kind of themes, I suppose, that I noticed was a lot of Masterpiece, movie Masterpiece, and third-party Masterpiece in there. A lot. That's why I don't like Masterpiece. If I gotta be 20 minutes or a half hour in general transforming something, that's no fun to me. I have zero interest in it. Couldn't care less. That's why I don't like it, because to me they're just over-engineered. I get that they're popular, but that's why MP isn't for me. The other thing was a lot of the Revenge of the Fallen stuff. Like a ton of the Revenge of the Fallen stuff. That was a rough line. Like I remember the Skids. I remember the Sideways. You know, what else was there? I don't know, but like, it was a rough line, man. It was a really rough line. The Jetfire, for example. Like that thing, man, trying to tab that thing together is Herculean. It's rough, you know? So, you know, them and the ones, of course, that actually made the official list. I don't know. Masterpiece, Revenge of the Fallen. That's like the worst of both worlds. Let me know what your hardest to transform Transformer is. I appreciate you guys coming by, giving me some of your extremely valuable time. I do know how important it is to you. If you're in a position to help the channel to grow, you can use the donate link. Check us out on Patreon. See what we have to offer to you through Spring, or of course hit the join button at any given time and become a channel member. While you're at it, please hit the subscribe button. Stick around, man. Have some fun with us here on the channel. And don't forget that somehow, some way, each and every single day, you right there, you do make a difference in the world, and I look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit, either in the live streams on Thursday nights, at the stop motion premieres, or the old-fashioned way right here inside the videos.